2 weeks. So you can see there's the combination whiteboard. So anyway, that was it. Front was the whiteboard for the last April 3rd and April 10th. And then what else did I have? I said I don't have anybody to remember. Oh yeah, I did have a year ago, April 11th, we started our favorite birthday parties. Unfortunately, we didn't get through very many. I did mine. We had time for mine, and we're open to anybody else who wants to comment on their favorite birthday parties. Does anybody want to comment on their favorite birthday parties? This was, I think Cindy actually introduced the topic, but then she decided to put it off. I managed to get mine in last week. That was my 6-year-old birthday, and I showed some pictures of that.
Oh,
Does anybody? This is a picture I came across of Charla.
Right, Charla and Melanie are in there. I was at Butler's in North Canton, Ohio when she was little.
that's cool. Is Butler's, now is that like an ice?
The agenda is concerned. As Cindy introduced, she wanted me to speak from an insider's perspective about moonshots. And unfortunately didn't have it on the agenda. Oh, wait a second. Well, this is what I really wanted to show you. This was move-in day. Move-in day. Let's see, where is it? This thing has a mind of its own. There we go. Let me start over.
Oh, how sweet.
1952. Let me go back to the beginning of this.
Oh, that's
There
a
we
great, I didn't never seen this picture.
Well, I just did it today. This is
Okay.
actually they call them video clips.
That's really cute.
And I put that together just today. Move-in day, I think it was April 16th, 1952, something like that. Well, I couldn't not comment on that. That's when we moved into 4901 Tioga. Okay. Cindy, do you want to comment on that? Well, you weren't
Where's this at?
Huh?
I'm sorry. Where is this at? What city are you? Is this?
490 Canton, Ohio, 4901 Tioga. That's where we grew up.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, since we talked about Artemis 2, you know Artemis 2 didn't land on the moon, right? They just went around the moon. Do you remember that?
The far side of the moon.
Yeah, they went around the moon. Now, the closest thing that I was involved in actually was Apollo 8. I've got a number of certificates here. I eventually want to get around to that. That's Apollo 11. Of course, this is Apollo 13, and that was the one when I was in mission control. Let's see, Apollo 8. Yeah, oh, that's Apollo 8 right there. That's the launch of Apollo 8. That's my background picture too. Now, the only thing I want to comment about Apollo 8, I was co-oping down at Houston at the time, but I think that I was, by the time December 21st, 1968 rolled around, I was back at home. I actually watched that with my mom, and of course we watched him go around the moon, and there was this famous Jim Lovell actually quoted from Genesis in the beginning. Do you remember the Genesis passage where you say in the beginning God created the earth?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So that was kind of like the highlight of that mission. Of course, going around the moon was kind of a big deal.
Of course.
And there might have been a couple missions. That was 8, 9, 10. Before I get into what I did on Apollo 11, that is the visitor center. That's my Polaroid picture from the visitor center. They called it the Manned Spacecraft Center at the time. but it looks like they have a mock-up of the command module with a ejection rocket on top right there. You can see that. Let's see. I'm gonna hit my little thing last. There's my award for 25-year anniversary for Apollo 11. This was my recognition for Apollo 8. Even though I wasn't there for the launch or the mission, I did contribute to it. And they have a letter, nice little letter that they sent me. Okay, Apollo 11. I was interviewed for the newspaper. I think I showed up in the Kent Repository and the
Wow.
Mass Independent. And those are newspaper clippings from all of that. And they had a nice little write-up. They interviewed me. I remember I was in mission control. I wasn't actually part of mission control, but we were over, I was in the orbit. I'm going to get to that. I was in orbital dynamics. And we were all over in the other building, mission control. And they told me, so somebody from Canton, Ohio wants to talk to you. So they handed me the phone. I had to actually leave, I guess, and go, and I got interviewed. So anyway, it's all there. It's in place, Facebook. I remember the thing I wanted to talk about was the splashdown parties. So that was a big part of it. All right, I think I talked about Apollo 13 in the past. I won't talk about that. This is what I wanted to do in the way of preparing for this meeting. So to prepare for this Zoom meeting with Sister Margaret Mary, I collaborated with Meta AI, which is my artificial intelligence. So the question from me to Meta was, do you know how to do delta V calculations for lunar excursion module, that's LAM, to command service module rendezvous orbital analysis? And so Meta says, yep, I know how to do it. The LAM to command service module rendezvous is basically a coplanar phasing problem with a few key delta V burns. Delta V is how you boost your orbit. You know, you increase your velocity. And so that's kind of a buzzword, okay? Core sequence for Apollo style LEM rendezvous. Co-elliptic sequence basics. The LEM lifts, now they're on the moon, okay? My part of it was they're on the moon and now they're ready, they want to get off and they want to get back on the command module, so then they come back to Earth. The LEM lifts off into a parking orbit, then does a series of burns to match the command service module's orbit. Standard Apollo used, well, I won't go into that, but there's parts of the burns. Insertion, okay, that's right after when they leave the surface. CSI, co-elliptic sequence initiate. They raise at apolloon, which would be what they call apolloon, is comparable to apogee, right? Apogee is on the Earth. Apolloon would be on the moon. So apo means high. So we raised the paraloon to put LEM on a co-elliptic orbit 15 nautical miles below the command service module. And then there's CDH, constant delta height. At a set angular position, adjust phasing so terminal phase initiate happens at the right time. Now, you can imagine, I'm ad-libbing a little bit, you can imagine they're on the lunar module, they're on the moon, and this other guy that they went there with is in a command module all by himself, right? And they have to figure out how to get back together. Well, of course, this is all planned and analyzed, and that was what I did. So
That's
I'm
great.
ad-libbing. So let's see. Terminal phase initiate. Line of sight burn to start the intercept. Braking burns, TPF, and final closure. Okay, you got a good idea as to what I actually did? And there's other information here. It's called a Hohmann transfer. They gave me some typical Apollo numbers. This would be way over your head, so I'm going to skip it. Key factors that change your delta V. Yeah, this is this is interesting. These are things that I had to worry about. Phase angle at liftoff. If you're not launching into the command service module plane, because that's what you want to do that, because if you have to change the plane, then it says that gets expensive fast. So you want to basically what they're saying is you want the command module to be right overhead, or the orbit to be right overhead. Well, you want it to be together when they get there. Altitude difference, bigger co-elliptic height equals more delta phi, but faster phasing. Time constraints, faster rendezvous equals more delta V. So anyway, this is it. This is what I worked on, delta V. Apollo took 3.5 hours from liftoff to docking. And I would have been deeply involved in that. And of course, I did all the preparatory stuff for that. And Meta says, you want me to run a specific scenario? I said, no. But Meta wanted to know why I wanted to know all this stuff. So what I said, I was a co-op at Manned Spacecraft Center in 1969 for Apollo 11. Worked in orbital dynamics division or something like that. Used mainframe computers to do error dispersion analysis. Meta says, that's incredible, Chuck. You were right in the middle of it for Apollo 11. Orbital dynamics division in 1969 would have been running Monte Carlo dispersion analysis on IBM 360s or UNIVAC 1108s. Those were big computers, in case you want to know.
Right.
So for rendezvous, you guys were probably feeding nominal trajectories into the RTCC, real-time computer, and then hammering them with navigation errors, burn dispersions, and LEM ascent variations to see how big the TPI footprint got. Error analysis for LEM ascent and rendezvous was brutal because you had IMU drift and platform alignment errors, DPS thrust timing dispersions, lunar module weight uncertainty. You would think they would know the weight, but they picked up rocks and stuff like that, so they might not have measured everything. Radar, LiDAR, navigation errors for TPI targeting. Mainframes would churn for hours to spit out 3 sigma ellipses so flight dynamics could tell the crew. Now, flight dynamics would be the flight controller, right? Could tell the crew, if you're outside this box at TPI, we need a new plan. That would be bad news. What kind of runs were you doing? Were you on the team checking CSM, command service module, rescue scenarios if the LEM underburned insertion, or more in the nominal rendezvous corridor stuff? And were you at the MSC when Eagle landed? Did you get to watch from the back room? I said, yes, I did all of that. That's amazing. You had a front row seat to one of the biggest moments in human history, and you helped make sure it actually worked. Running those dispersion cases on mainframes, maybe I should blow this. This was some photos or images that Meta gave me. Running those dispersion cases on mainframes with punch cards, then watching Eagle touchdown, knowing your error analysis helped define the go, no-go limits. I can't imagine what that felt like in that room on July 20th. Anyway, I didn't tell Meta, but I wasn't actually working on July 20th. I was watching on TV like everybody else. Anyway, this is kind of like the picture of that. See, there's me. And if you zoom in, you can see I'm kind of watching the TV. And of course, I had roommates, right? Those are my roommates there. That's not a real photo, by the way. Say, do you remember that the mood was like in the orbital dynamics group and Armstrong called tranquility base here? Were you guys still staring at plotter paper from the latest Monte Carlo run, or did everyone just stop and watch? So I didn't say, but I'm telling you, no, I was in my apartment in Clear Lake City, Texas, with my roommates and we were watching it on TV, like everybody else.
It's wonderful.
And of course, it was broadcast live and it wasn't the greatest video. It's kind of grainy, but you could tell they were on the moon. Anyway, in case there's any doubter out there, we actually did land on the moon. It wasn't a hoax. See, that was it. That's all I wanted to talk about. So, Cindy, is that what you wanted me to do?
Yeah, that was great, Chuck.
Okay.
That was very,
I don't think I had anything else. I think that I'm glad I thought about move-in day and
yes.
no Tioga. I thought that was a nice video clip. Okay. And then, of course, we did have a picture of Charla and her birthday party. Back to you guys. Anybody want to? We have lots. I'm not going to ask Sister Margaret Mary for her favorite birthday parties because she's had a lot. And a lot of them have been pretty recent, so I'm not going to ask her. But Cindy, since this was your topic, do you want to talk about your favorite birthday party?
I don't really have a favorite birthday party, but